Right.
We're rolling.
Welcome to the archive, episode 3. It probably episode 5 because we've already filmed it twice and we've had some little technical difficulties.
We've had technical difficulties.
That means we've just rehearsed things and it's going to be a lot smoother. You know what I mean?
He's already jinxed the podcast now, guys.
Pressure's on.
We might as
What's
well
this,
scrap
third
it
time
already.
Third time lucky. Third
Yes,
time
bro.
lucky.
Yeah, we'll nail
Put
it.
in.
How are we all? I know if people don't know, Joel's just finished up his final year in university.
That I have. Yes, I'm all done with university.
Was it what you expected, or was it underwhelming?
Very underwhelming given the current circumstances, but I think things are going to kick back off when like lockdowns lifted, things are not as restricted, and then we're going to have a bit more freedom. And I think the old build-up of it is going to make sure that we have a splendid time celebrating, you know? Hopefully somewhere warm and sunny. If that's the UK, as it is now, that is fine. Otherwise, I'll be jetting off somewhere.
The weather, genuine, like the weather is made things, 100 times easier. It's bittersweet though, because, the weather's lush, but you can't go anywhere to enjoy it, really. You just got to go out on your 1 or 2 exercises per day now.
No, it's unlimited now.
Unlimited exercise.
Woo!
I've gone on more walks in this lockdown than I have, I think, in my 23 years of life.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of walking normally, and I think it's just like I've relit my spark for my 10,000 steps, But
yeah,
today's episode of the podcast is going to be chatting 2 main topics, really. So we wanted to touch on supplementation, and I know Dan wanted to chat about the considerations of using machine versus free weights, which is, as many of you know, I don't venture outside the S&C room. So it's going to be nice to get an opinion and put a bit of perspective on when machines come into training and when free weights should stick.
I'm the same though. Like you'll always find me in that, if people who have done training Planet Fitness, the S&C rooms, the strength and conditioning suite in Planet Fitness, so it's just a little bit more of a quote unquote functional area. So there's not a lot of machine based move. You don't see the bodybuilders in there really. That's what you see. The the CrossFit guys, the people who are into a bit more of their functional. That's another word. That's another topic in itself. Talking about the word functional, but that
what is functional?
What's sold as functional, that's the S&C room, and then you've got the main area in the gym, which is where all the machines are. But I think we'll share a similar opinion on the machines versus free weights and that kind of thing. So yeah, be an interesting discussion. But supplements, this is a doozy because I know everyone. Like, I know there's definitely a heavy sort of pressure on buying supplements now. So like when I started training, but when you started training, what was your stack, bro? What's your stack, bro?
So I fell into the pressure of watching, well, not fell into the pressure, but give in to the pressure of YouTubers that I used to watch with their discount codes promoting all sorts of BCAAs and things like that. And it just got caught up in it. And because there's so much choice out there, and you look on My Protein Today, for example, and there's over 40 pages of just supplements. They got 5 pages of proteins.
Just the categories in it, just the different categories. Yeah. You should have you should have a category list this long. My Protein is this long.
They've even spanned it across the screen now.
Yeah,
it comes across, and
so
when I first started,
the arsenal of supplements. Yeah, go on.
So when I first started, it was very much a growing industry where things are getting popularized more and more. There was the usual protein, creatine, BCAAs, things like that. But my first stack, I will get up on Instagram now, and it was from Optimum Nutrition. Not sponsored, but, if you want to pay my bills. So we had Gold Standard Whey, the BCAAs, the glycomates, which is a carb powder, a casein, and a multivitamin. And this being my first stack, I'd probably look at it and think some sensible decisions in there, you know what I mean? Some like a bit, you could question why I had that as a beginner. That was in 2013. So I was there. Like,
That's about when I had mine.
When
I bought my first stack, yeah.
Yeah, so like that was my first stack, and it did get a little bit worse, I'll be honest with you. Like
I think I've got my first
the old
stack
top
on
of the
my
fridge.
IG as well.
Yeah, the top of the fridge did get a bit cluttered with countless things that probably ran out of date very quick because I realized that a lot of the things you don't need, well, all of the things you don't need, but a lot of the things are just probably like throwing glitter on a turd at the time. It was absolutely pointless for me. What was yours then, Dan? You trying to find it?
I've got a pic on my Instagram from 2016, which is just 4 different tubs of pre-workout. Like just 5 different tubs, actually 5 tubs of MTS whey, MTS pre-workout, a signed tub by Mark Lawbliner as well. But yeah,
So,
my first stack was, it probably looked like, I know I had the serious mass, the a big 5
didn't
kilo
work
bag.
for you, did it, boy?
No, a big, like I hated the stuff. The scoop was like this big. If anyone has ever had serious mass, the scoop is literally a shovel. Like, do you know them ice cream boats you can get? That is the scoop.
Yeah, it's like you put it into your trough then. Like that's how
It was
big
the
the serving
size of,
sizes
like, I
are.
don't know, my iron. But yeah,
But don't you put 3 in there? 3
2
scoops of
scoops of
trough.
1,250 calories or something like that. It was something stupid. I didn't do well on the old GI, like, but yeah, I had a 5 kilo bag of whey. I had C4 pre-workout, creatine monohydrate, beta-alanine capsules, and I had that. My first pre-workout was the Jack 3D and the Craze. I bought the Craze and the Jack 3D, which had that 1,3 dimeth in it. If you know, you know.
Yeah,
That shit set me.
1,3
I think I was about 60 when I had that. That shit set me wild. Like, I was in the gym. Like, I jump in. I had everyone's sets.
Yeah, just everything. What are you training, bro? All of it.
Any volume about. Like,
Yeah, 'cause I remember
50
the
working
Jack
sets.
3D was getting passed around like it would be like the rugby pre-workout of choice.
Yeah.
So they'd be like when
Just because you want to bite someone's head off after taking it. It got banned.
When did it get banned?
It got banned in 2016, I think. Or 2015,
Yeah, so if you don't know,
2016.
the reason why it got banned was it contained 1,3-dimeth, which is a banned substance.
It's an amphetamine,
But-
effectively.
Yeah, but it would get you off the walls because it's an amphetamine. So before people knew it was banned, they like take it and be like, "This is the best pre-workout ever." You'd be off your tits. Yes, you would because it's thing. But yeah, that got passed around the rugby changing rooms, and yeah, thankfully no one's ripping anyone's heads off anymore.
I think it got banned because it was a fat burner and some girl took it and she died. I think that's why it got banned. But anyway, a bit of a
top. I survived Jack 3D.
Genuine, like, but yeah, like, if you just look at mine and Joel's stacks, like, what were we? What was I? 15, 16? Well, a bit older than that. Did I need all that? No.
Yeah.
Like, I think my stack probably cost me about £200.
Yeah, so
But
I'm
now,
trying to do the math.
if
mine cost 170, yeah.
My stack now is literally a whey protein and a pre-workout. That's my substack, and a multivitamin if I remember to take it.
Yeah,
I don't take creatine at all. I don't.
Fair.
I don't fuck with that.
So I think, like, moving on to our stacks. Why do you think you're?
Sorry, but I think like you said, like, the reason I spent so much on supplements because I saw, like, all the influencers that I follow, like, my pre-workouts that I bought were literally signed by the owner of the company because, like, I was just a fan of the guy. Like, if you know Mark Lawbliner he's a pretty out there bloke. It's like boom, 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 you know, and like he signed my pre-workout. you know, the least he could do when I just bought 5 tubs off the block, like, filling his pockets. Naive
Yeah.
17-year-old Dan was like, oh, like, yeah. No, but yeah, there's a tremendous amount of pressure, I think, to buy into the supplements, because I feel like it's less about like with the gains they make. You want to feel attached to something as well. You want to feel like a part of something, but like, don't attach that to like your sort of like training, nutrition, your fitness journey, because like it just adds a little bit.
Is the icing on the cake, I find.
Yeah, always. Like, they're never gonna make or break anything. So yeah, like.
And that's where my like view has changed on supplements now. Was I always thought they were a necessity, but I realized, yeah, as we've both got our little, we don't take supplements. We just, you know. So that's where my thing has changed. They've become more of a necessity, but more of a like an addition to the fundamentals that I want to get nailed. So the pressures has changed from people would be like, use my discount code, buy my subs. Like Christian Guzman, sponsored by Ghost now, and you'd be like, I want to like use the same thing as him. Look at the gains he's got, and look, like, can I look like that? And I think that's the thing. You see a lot of influencers promoting supplements. A lot of the time now, these skinny coffees and booty and all that, they're the ones that are being promoted most. And you see those flying about so much now. And for me, I think they're being promoted and they're selling people the dream that I had when I was like younger, and I'd see people take BCAAs and things. They have those 7-day quick transformation results. Take this supplement. That's all you need to do. And it's bullshit, really, isn't it?
Do you think that like the skinny coffees and stuff fall into that supplement category? Because I know that when I started taking supplements, that they were in the kind of own category, and people always kind of knew that they were bullshit. Do you know? So like they always had the booty. Like when I first bought my first supplement was away from Holland and Barrett, and I remember seeing the booties and like skinny coffees in there. And I know my mum used to, like, because that's how I got introduced. My mum used to buy them. And I used to be like, oh, and fair. Like the detox teas and stuff. But yeah, like.
And I seen them in the supplement.
You're breaking up, bro.
Wi-Fi. Yep. Oh, Dan.
This is the technical issues that we've run in, guys. This is what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, lockdown is breaking this podcast.
We're rolling with it. But I think I'm classing them in the supplement category because of how they're being promoted now.
Yeah.
So you used to see people selling them like, oh, my BCAAs, the must-have supplement to make sure that you stay shredded year-round, things like that. And I think even though they're just really nice flavored squash, really, and
yeah, it's just expensive squash.
Yeah, they can have that maybe like a little benefit, but it's so minute that if you haven't got everything in place beforehand, is negligible. But the thing that I'm seeing is a lot of people are pushing like a quick 7-day fix. There ain't no quick fix. Like you can drink a coffee for 7 days and you think you're going to get to where you want to be. I lost 12 pounds in 7 days. Like, did you though? Like, you've seen that a lot of these influencers are pushing these supplements and they haven't even tried them. Like that Lauren Goodger video where she's like, no, I haven't tried it. You know, I would never try it. Like, yeah, I'll sell anything. Like, and I think it's getting to the point where they're falling in that category of supplements. But supplements is becoming such a wide industry that is like, there's so many things that we can throw in.
And there's so much garbage out there. Like,
and
there's only
if you're not educated and you're being sold a dream on it, then you can easily buy in. And that's why we wanted to do this little chat on the podcast, was to try and decipher through some of the bullshit.
There's that mentality. It's like, oh, it can't hurt. Yeah, it won't hurt you, but you're wasting 40 quid on something that is just going to have like those skinny teas, you're just going to have 40 quid for the shits. You're spending 40 quid to get the shits. Like, you ain't going to shit yourself thin. Like, it just don't happen like that.
You ain't going to shit yourself thin.
That ain't it, chief.
No,
like,
it ain't.
As Joe like to say. But yeah, like,
and it's,
don't buy into the dream that they're trying to sell you. There's supplements out there that work. supplements have their place, but when and where they have their place, I feel like there's a blurred line, and people are still kind of like a deer in headlights when it comes to like
Yeah.
the supplement industry.
And I think the reason why there's that blurred line is because it is such a profitable business. So you've got to realize
Yeah.
when you use a discount code from an influencer, they make money off that discount code. So they're going to push the shit out of something they're going to make money from.
Yeah.
And if some people believe, and you know the ones that have stuck by a company for years and years, they use their stuff, that's exclusively what they use, and they've actually seen a benefit from it. And you can tell the ones that are genuine. The ones that pick up a new like sponsor every month or so, they're like, oh, another way to coin some money, another way to coin some money. That's where the blurred lines come in. People's morals then kind of swing that I need to make money. And it's not you can't really blame them if they're putting money on the table.
It's business. It's a business,
and
bro.
It's easy income. You've got to kind of think they're doing their best to market themselves, but at the same time, you've got to think, right, are they doing it to profit or benefit? And you want to try and get an equal balance of both. If one's all about profit, then you think, maybe I need to research this supplement on my own and go on my own back and see whether I want to buy it and not trust their word. And if you know, like they've been with a company for a long time, they swear by them, then I would always say still do your own research because they're making profit. But it's still that like thing where if they've been with a company, they might have like a little bit of a relationship with that company, a good relationship where they work together, they actually believe in the products rather than they're just promoting something for the profit.
But ultimately, there is things that you should have in place before supplements should even become a consideration to be a part of like your training arsenal. So like you can think of like criteria that you need to hit. Like one is your training even on point. Two, Joel, do you want to touch on like what do you think are the key things that people need to like put in place before they even consider supplements as an option?
Yeah, so you touched on it then. I think we're going to share a similar opinion on this one with what we think should be in place because we're professionals within the field and understand that supplements are just the icing on the cake and that extra 1%. So the things I'd say are you're going to get your training spot on. And then after your training, the two biggest things I'd say is your nutrition and
sleep and
your recovery / sleep. Yeah. So they're the 3 points. And I think if you haven't got those in place, you were pissing in the wind with supplements.
Yeah, there's really no, it's like if you look at it as like a pie chart, yeah, your training takes like how much efficacy and effort and how much you're putting in, how much you're maximizing those outputs, yeah, or outlets. Training, maximizing it maybe 20%. And then you've got recovery 10%, you've got nutrition 10%. The supplements are not going to make up that to 100%. They're only going to add on an additional effect when everything else is on point. Otherwise you're not going to get anything noticeable out of them just because you're not optimizing the essentials and the basics.
Yeah, and I think only once you've really like given a good crack to training, nutrition and recovery, and you've kind of got a good schedule in, you're in a good routine with it, you think there's always room to improve there. But I think the thing with supplements, if you like really on the money with the other stuff, supplements can almost enhance the other stuff because you feel like, right, I've got a supplement, I'm going to try a bit harder, I'm going to push a little bit harder. And I think it's a good motivation tool for people that they go, right, I'm going all in, I'm buying the supplements and I'm going to make sure I smash everything else. But what you've got to realize is that if you're not doing the other bits like training, nutrition, recovery, is all going to be out the window. So some things I would say about training. Training is going to be where you apply a lot of stress to your body. And if this stress isn't managed well, then it's going to have a detrimental effect to everything else. So what you've got to realize is the body adapts from stress. We apply a stress to the body adapts to overcome that stress and gets a bit stronger. If you apply too much stress to the system, you can't recover. You become like in a state of fatigue, and it's hard to climb out that, and you won't see any like real performance benefit or any like benefit, just negative effects from it. So make sure with your training, you're managing your load and your doses appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan, if you want to touch on like some things they can do to monitor like training load to make sure that they're not constantly in a state of overreaching and then maybe decreasing that overtraining.
So you're not really going to notice, like the average Joe isn't going to have anything in place to monitor sort of like the overtraining, overreaching, right? As long as you've got your recovery and you're eating well enough, in like if you're sleeping well and your nutrition is on point, and you're still seeing like, you know, you having those sessions, you know, where you're not sort of hitting the numbers or you're not performing as well as you would be, maybe pull away from volume on a few exercises, or rethink and rejig your program. You might have programmed sessions too close together. You might have programmed maybe a squat day too close to another squat day. This, you know, your sessions might be a little bit too demanding. If you want to go down the avenue of like, you know, monitoring and make things, there's tools out there to monitor like your responses to training. So you can get a heart rate monitor. I think, what are they, like those Polar ones are like 50 quid.
Yeah,
Polar heart rate's like 50 quid. Yeah.
Quid.
Yeah, you can get one of those, or get a compatible wearable like watch. I don't wear one, but you all know what a watch looks like, obviously. And then you can get this app called Elite. Yeah, the Casio, bro. You can get this app called Elite HRV, which is a heart rate variability, which is a measure. Heart rate variability is a measure of like neuromuscular readiness. It'll give you a score 1 out of 10. If you're below a certain criteria, it'll say like, maybe, you know, you're not ready, you're too far in the SNS, you're too overstimmed, you sleep with shit, maybe pull back on volume, and then you can make informed decisions on training. That's if you want to be really, really, really like, you know, sort of intricate about it. But like, if you're feeling like dog shit session after session, pull back on volume or address sleep, you know.
Yeah, because that's one thing I was looking at is now we're stuck to home training. People maybe doing a lot more than they normally would. So
in regards to volume, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I wanted you to touch on it a little bit was to try and give insight, because we haven't got that heavy load that we're under. For normal people that are strength training, they experience that like great fatigue from getting on a heavy barbell. It's like really demanding. But I think a lot of people have substituted with our heavy load demand with smashing volume. So that's why I wanted people to touch on it, was because maybe you are in this case of, if you're training 10 times a week, that I've seen some people doing in your like training week, do you really need to be training 10 times?
So people got so much spare time now, especially if people are not working. And they just want to like,
that's what
I'm going to do three workouts today.
And maybe like take back a little bit. If it is affecting your training, if you are a really well-trained individual, by all means, you can ramp up the volume. Like CrossFitters train loads because they're used to handling so much stress. But if you're going from like training and you've noticed that you're getting a little bit fatigued earlier, like you're a little bit tired throughout the day, that could be because you've just increased your training volume and you're struggling to recover from it. So touching on recovery, sleep. Now, this is probably the most underutilized supplement Dan's currently.
What is going on with my camera?
There we go. So it is probably one of the most underutilized methods to maximize like performance gains. So sleep is going to be probably a whole podcast in itself at some point, because
We will
it is
touch on it
such
today because
it's such a massive topic, and we're probably only going to scratch the surface here because there's so many ins and outs. But
yeah.
if you haven't maximized your sleep, you're not going to recover. You're going to be constantly struggling, and you're just going to feel like dog shit, and it's going to suffer from your training, and it's going to suffer like into your nutrition then. So sleep hygiene, what's some things you'd recommend?
So I'll go through my sleep hygiene. So we'll touch on supplements, right? Because I take my sleep routine is like 2 hours before bed. I'll pop my ashwagandha and my 5-HTP. So 5-HTP is a supplement that it increases serotonin, which then increases melatonin. So it encourages melatonin secretion in the brain. So like I'll start to get a little bit sleepy from taking that. I'll take my blue light blockers. So ideally I would say avoid screens about an hour before you sleep, just so you can, because blue light stimulates your brain. Your brain can't switch off then, and your parasympathetic nervous system can't kick in as well as it should. So your brain isn't going to produce melatonin. Your brain doesn't want to go to sleep. Your brain doesn't think that it's time to go to sleep. So I'll chuck my blue light blockers on. I've got them here. This is what they look like. I look like Bono with them on.
But
yeah, so I'll chuck those on. Make my room a bit cold. Head to sleep then. My sleep schedule, I try to keep it the same, just to keep the circadian rhythm like the same. But yeah, I would just say that the easiest steps you can take is just sleep and wake at the same time every day.
Yeah.
And if your sleep is suffering, then look at nutrition and your training.
Yeah,
because it all ties in.
One thing I'd say is you touched on supplements there, and now my sleep hygiene has gone to shit, along with probably a lot of other people. So I used to have a really good routine. I come home from work at about 10, chuck my blue light blockers on, have my little like bedtime routine, knock the lights off, go to bed. Up nice and early, in a good routine. Since lockdown, and I'm not the only one guilty of it, my bedtime routine is I'll probably jump on the Xbox at about 9 o'clock. I will sit there staring at a screen, emitting a load of blue light, playing a game, which often gets me aggravated. You've got to
Ramps
switch
up your
on,
anxiety.
ramped
Them
up.
gulags,
I'm playing
bro.
on war.
Them
I'm in the
gulags.
war. We don't lose them gulags, but we're in the war zone. We're in the war zone. We're playing. We're chatting with the boys. We're having a laugh. Next thing you know, check your thing. 12 o'clock. Shit, I haven't eaten. And I'll be like, oh, I want to get my calories in, so I'll go make myself something quick, easy. Should you really eat before bed? I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of that, but it's not ideal. So I'm in the war zone, staring at a blue light screen, getting ramped up, eating really late. And then my habit is I will go take my NTR supplement and be like, oh, you know what, sleep sorted. I'll wake up later on, like 9:30. I'm more of a late riser anyway. I don't really like an early morning, but I'll wake up and repeat every night. And then I think, oh, shit, my sleep has gone to shite. And there's me. I'm trying to put a plaster over the top of it by chucking 3 scoops of my NTR, drinking it before I go to bed, when in reality, I've got a massive gaping cut and this plaster's just holding it together and then bursts. What I need to do is, if I was serious about it and was going to recommend people, I wouldn't just say, go buy a supplement. I'd be like, right, I know
Make sure these things are in check first.
Yeah, step away from the screens. I know it's going to be hard. If you do play on the Xbox, make sure that you get enough time that when you do come off, you can settle down. Yeah, you can settle down. For me, I go straight from staring at the screen to bed. Not good. Give yourself a little bit of time to step away from the screens and give yourself a little bit of a mental break. Then,
yeah. And if you have got blue light blockers, chuck them on.
Yeah.
If you know you're going to be like if you work from home and you're on a laptop all day and you've got bits and bobs to do before you go to bed, like chuck turning the blue light off on your laptop, like this is setting on within the 21st century now. We're in 2020. Every laptop has a blue light setting to turn it off, like a night shift mode or something like that. Or
Yeah,
buy
it'll dampen
yourself
everything and make it
buy
look
yourself a
orange.
pair of like orange safety glasses. Like these ones are like fancy blue light blockers, yeah, that I bought. So these are a little bit more expensive, but you can pick up like a pair of blue light blockers, like industrial ones, for like 20 quid. And like those are the ones I used when I first bought them. Like I bought these because I thought, like, you
Big
know,
ski goggles like that.
yeah, like these, nobody's gonna see you wearing these, and they make a massive difference. Like after wearing these for about an hour, my eyes are like,
Yeah,
I'm going
but
cross-eyed because I'm so sleepy.
at the same time, if you can't help it, you work late nights, you're on a computer screen, then wear them. But if you're looking for a crutch when everything else is shit, like you're up late staring at a screen because you're playing on the Xbox, you're watching another Netflix episode, take some time away from that. Don't just think,
Yeah,
I need a pair of blue light blockers. You need to do other measures in place first.
it's the same as if you train late. Maybe like if you train late, you're revved up, your oxidative stress is up, your SNS is through the roof. Like, so I touch on SNS and PNS. So SNS, sympathetic nervous system, that's when you're like revved up, you're ready to go. That's like where you are, like that's
Headbutting
base.
barbells.
Yeah, when you listen to heavy music or when your anxiety's through the roof, so it's like a fight or flight. PNS is when that kicks in, so you listen to a bit of chilled out music, you know, you're toning down, you're getting ready, like you're relaxing, that kind of thing.
Mm.
So you want to balance between the two. You want to be a little bit more towards the PNS sort of side when you want to go to bed. Training late is only going to put you into that sort of SNS zone. On the Xbox late at night, you're going to be in that SNS zone. Looking at blue light, you know, you're in that SNS zone. So like keep the mind quiet when you want to go to bed. If you can't help it, then maybe look at the other avenues. Like if you can help it, you know, put steps in place. But if you can't help it, you know, then maybe look at like the supplements and kind of like aids then to help you, like the blue light blockers and what have you. But this tangent came from supplements. Like we've touched on training, we touched on sleep. Supplements, right? Top 3 supplements or supplement variants, categories that you would say are good, bad, non-essential. Good, non-essential, and maybe like honorable mention, or like non-necessary, but like they won, you know, you like to dabble.
So just a little thing on that. Supplements come in and fall into the nutrition category. So we're not going to get into the ins and outs of nutrition right now because is just so much to it.
So
but
massive topic,
if you think you're eating a shit quality diet and you can add a protein shake in to make it better, it's not going to happen. Like,
no,
you need to ensure that
fuel to the fire, really.
Yeah, you need to ensure that your food quality is high. I would always try and tell people to get their protein from whole foods rather than a shake. I'll go into why shakes are used when we give our good, bad, and ugly, but make sure that you're trying to get your protein from whole food sources. You split it out evenly through the day. Food quality is high, so it's not going to be 100%. You're never going to be like, I'm eating everything good all the time. You're going to have days where you slip up, but the majority of your food quality is of a good source. It's easily digestible. You can get a lot of nutrients from it. It means that you've got good color on your plate. And then only once you've got those things in place, should you look at supplements. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. I will give, rather than a good, a bad, and the ugly, I'll give my top 3 first.
Yeah.
And then top 3, a whey protein for convenience. So if you're struggling to get your food sources spread out evenly throughout the day, you've got a like busy work schedule, add a whey protein in. It's going to be a nice, quick, convenient source. It's going to be a bit more expensive, but it's something you can drink on the go. You get a good quality protein and easily digestible. There we go. You've got your 40 gram protein if you're struggling. So that'll be the first one I recommend. Second one, pre-workouts. I would recommend them, but use them wisely. I know it's one of those things. People have a hard time getting motivated for sessions and things like that. They're good then. Are they overused and overconsumed? Yes. But I would try and say, if you can get a good quality caffeine source, it's going to motivate you on those days where you're struggling. because we all have them. We take our good scoop of pre-workout. We do our routine before the gym. We're up and we're ready for it. It can get people in a good mindset, but at the same point, don't overuse it like I do, and a lot of other people do. They take it consistently throughout every training day. There's going to be days when you need it, days when you're not. If you need it all the time, look at pillar number 1, your training, and maybe you're in a state of overreaching because you're trying to do too much and you're not recovering from it. Third supplement would be, I'd probably say creatine. So I take it 5 gram every day. It's really cheap.
Yeah.
It's not one of the ones that get you out of pocket as much as like
And it's
BCAAs, things like that.
It's the
It's
most
the most researched.
into
It shows it works. Same with caffeine. Caffeine is a natural performance enhancer. Creatine has been shown to work. That's why I'd include those in. Only 5 gram every day.
No
Dan
need to
have
load it.
alluded to. Yeah, Dan have alluded to not taking it with a caffeine substance. I'm not too sure on that. You can try and touch on that one for a little bit if you want. But yeah, they're my top 3. Honorable mention would be try and get a multivitamin in if you do struggle with overall food quality, because sometimes it is those days where you're going to struggle to get your full balanced
Spectrum,
diet.
yeah.
And then it might be good getting a high quality supplement to make sure that we are completing that spectrum of vitamins and minerals that we need on a day-to-day basis. But it's not essential, and I would look to food quality for a multivitamin rather than a tablet.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Right. My top 3 is going to look very similar to Joel's. There's subtle differences. Like, I'm surprised at some of Joel's choices. So my number 1 is a whey protein. Just because it's one of the most bioavailable protein sources you can get. Like, I think you can, like, it just is like optimal. It's a really good protein source. It's easy to consume. There's really like tasty options out there. Like, some of them do taste like genuine dog shit, but there's some whey protein out there that's
Can
like,
I just
damn,
say,
it's a treat.
the My Protein rainbow protein was the worst thing I have ever bought. It tasted like, you know, the E numbers from a Blue Smartie. It literally just tasted like E numbers. That's my top tasting protein would have to be coffee caramel PAS. Unreal, hands down. Scoop of honey in it.
Is it?
There we go.
Boy, have you tried the MTS whey? The Mark Lobliners whey? Oh, do you know the cookies and cream whey literally tastes like an Oreo milkshake from like Ed's Diner.
Yeah.
And if you know, you know, like, they are special.
What's the worst tasting protein you've had?
Optimum Nutrition cookies and cream. Absolutely dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. Like, it just gave me like the taste of like actual human poo, like, after like what I imagine that to like, it just like, it was just vile, bro. Like, it just tasted like like the worst thing you could ever taste. It was horrible. Like, Optimum Nutrition, you need to sort it out, sort your life out, sort your flavors out.
You can sponsor me. I like the cookies and cream.
Nah, it's garbage. Like, your cookies and cream whey is garbage, guys. So sorry to tell you, but yeah, nobody likes your garbage.
So,
but yeah, number 2. Protein. Number 2, I would say creatine, because it's cheap and it works. Yes, that's literally you'll only benefit from it. Number 3, I would say a good multivitamin / greens powder / you know, just because
greens powders.
I've had good greens powder. I like the bulk powders greens powder.
Mate, I tried that.
Quite nice.
It literally tasted like grass.
I liked it. I put it in my smoothie. I can't taste it. But there we go. Honorable mentions: stress mitigating supplements and sleep supplements, I think, are underrated. Like 5-HTP. Like, if you're an anxious person, I'm not gonna say that it yields like you'll never feel anxious again, but I as an individual suffer with like, that I'm massively highly strung. Joel knows. People who know me know I'm highly strung. I'm like one of those like, everything is like too much. So like 5-HTP helps me, ashwagandha, like these things kind of help to mitigate and decrease cortisol, helps you chill out a little bit more. Massive benefit to take these after you train. So after you've revved it up on a squat session, pop an ashwagandha, have 5 minutes, listen to some Justin Bieber, listen to some, like, I don't know what you listen to chill out. I don't know. Yeah, listen
Chuck
to
on
some
some
nice
T-Swizzle.
tropical house or whatever. Have a chill out, and then eat your food. So you're in a better position to digest your food. And you as soon as you can switch on that recovery mode, the better. So I think they're underrated, and they're not really I know they're
Yeah.
becoming mainstream, like My Protein and stuff are doing this, like anti-anxiety, the stress supplements, and the focus supplements. But I like pre-workout is an honorable mention. I don't think it's essential. It's not in my top 3. I love pre-workout. It's not in my top 3 recommended, but it's definitely.
Yeah,
It's
I
on
could not include it in.
my
I use it every
pre-workout.
day.
A pre-workout is on my bank statement every 4 weeks. Like every
Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks, there's a pre-workout purchase on my bank statement.
I could not include it because I know Jez would be watching and be like, bro, I've seen you double dose for those squat sessions. So
Like I smash pre-workout.
I wouldn't use it as much as I would, but I would recommend its use for others. So that is supplements wrapped up in one.
Yeah,
Good.
fair. Right. Well, we were going to touch on. We touched on trading. Obviously, this is majority of this podcast is going to be trading focused and fitness focused. We will touch on some other topics, just to give you guys a little bit of a break from us chatting shit about training. But yeah, machines versus free weights. I don't like that machines versus. I think they all have their place. What's your?
To quote Dan from podcast episode 1, do them all.
Do it all.
It was something like that. Not a direct retweet.
It's like
but
we talk about rep range. It's like, oh, what rep range should I work in? I'm like, probably all of them. Get strong in every rep range.
So you alluded to the S&C room, the main room. They look at each other, and there's that big square off. What are you doing there?
There's a bit of beef. There's a bit of beef.
Yeah.
There's beef.
I actually ventured one of my clients outside of the S&C room to use some of the machines in the main room. There is still machines in the S&C room for those that don't know Planet Fitness. So
if you don't know what the S&C room is, S&C strength and conditioning, it's quote unquote functional area. So like you got your squat racks, it's where all
it's got like 3 platforms. It's got the turf. It's got the skier. It's got the rower. It's got a couple of machines. It's got a big rig. Paint the picture.
Joel's the big rig.
I am the big rig.
Joel's the big rig.
So the main room then has got just machines and a dumbbell area. So my opinion on it is that they have their place. So I'm a big advocate of free weights. I feel like learning to use your body in open space, not in a fixed pattern, is going to be beneficial. You get a lot more muscular activation from learning to stabilize certain things. So if you put a heavy weight on a back squat on your back, you're going to have to make sure that the kinetic chain from shoulders to feet is all switched on. So you've got a big core, everything's switched on, you're locked in, you're keeping that neutral spine, everything's working as one. Whereas on a machine, you take that out, you take that stability factor away, you negate the amount of core activation you need because it's less, like it's a more stable environment. But then you can maximize the force output from the legs, and there's not going to be a limiting factor within that core stability aspect. So try and include a good balance of both. Learn, if you don't know how to use your body, that would probably be my first protocol. Learn how to use your body, get used to where it is. Some people can't bend their hips. They struggle. They don't know how to disassociate movement from the spine and the hips. If you're in that category and you're just thinking, I'll just slap the machine on it, don't need to worry about it.
It's a bit of a crutch.
You should look at addressing that. But at the same time, if you're only doing free weights, could you get a bit more from adding a little bit into your training to really maximize work output of a single muscle? So the reason why they create these machines is to make sure that we can like hit one muscle in probably the best angle. So that's my view on it. We'll go into a bit more detail, but I want to see what Dan's point
My
of view
stance.
is. The bodybuilding man, Dan.
What?
Bodybuilding man, Dan, innit?
Yeah,
Woo!
definitely. But anyway, my stance is exactly the same as yours, obviously. I
God,
feel
two
it's
peas
not
in a
obvious.
Forest.
Right. I'm sorry, everyone, if you're wondering why my screen is going off. I have no idea. There's because I've got a window right there. I need to get my camera on the right angle. In a minute, I'll go blurry. Anyway, what am I chatting? So machines versus free weights. I think they both have their place. I think that the majority of your training initially should be focused around open connected chain movements. Multi-joint exercise that will get you moving and will get you recruiting your connect chain optimally. So like your squats, your lunges, your gait, your hinge, that kind of thing. Do I think machine-based movements have their place? Yeah. Do I think people should use them from the get-go? Yeah. Simply because once you've sort of, say you structure a session, you start with back squats or squats and what have you. You then get tired and you get fatigued. We know now that fatigue is the killer of movement competency. When you're tired, you can't move as well. Joel, he's back in the room. Yeah, when you're tired, you can't move as well. So there then is where you would put that machine in place. So if you want to, add a little bit more volume, say you're going for like a hypertrophy or something like that, you want to up your volume tolerance or you want to do a little bit extra, you can't effectively do that with all multi-joint exercises because one, you can't hit the intensities that you probably could. You're not maximizing the mechanical work of the muscle because you're not loading it as much because you're fatigued because you can't manage that pattern under that amount of load without butchering the movement pattern. So then you would introduce a machine. So like if you've done squats and you want to get a little bit more quad stimulation, you're not going to then do like walking lunges because, it's a pretty technical movement. It requires a lot of stability. You got a lot of core activation in. So maybe do a leg press or a leg extension where you've got a little bit less requirement to transfer force from the lower to upper body, which there's less core recruitment, but there's more leg activation. So effectively you're stimulating and you're increasing the mechanical work of the muscle without increasing the risk of butchering your movement competency and then leading to either a chronic or potentially acute injury. So either injure yourself in future or injure yourself there and then. You're not going to injure yourself there and then. Typically, like, your body's pretty good, but there are some cases where you could potentially be so tired that you injure yourself, aka Joel.
Yeah, but I think touching on it, where you said about starting with beginners and maybe focusing on open kinetic chain. So if people don't know what that means, it's basically where your feet are anchored into the ground and you move your body around your feet, basically. In layman's terms, yeah. So then when you come into those exercises is a big learning curve. So technical competency is what we're always going to strive to achieve. So if you can't lift it properly, you can't load it. So there's certain things, if you can't back squat because you're falling over, we're not going to add load on and think,
you're just loading a faulty movement pattern. You're just going to get strong in a faulty movement pattern, which is just going to be suboptimal.
But then
you need to earn your right to progress in these exercises effectively.
Yeah. So when you're there, like people see me doing a load of weird shit, like carrying shit in my elbows, throwing it overhead. I've kind of earned the right to do that. I can move to a certain degree where I'm strong in those movement patterns that I've built up that prerequisite strength to be a little bit of a circus lift. You know what I mean? You wouldn't go load that in for everyone. That's because I've developed the right to move well. And that's what warrants the load. If you don't move well, you don't warrant an increase in load. But then at the same time, if you can't really increase a load because technical competency is not there, what can you do? And this is where I think machines come in well for beginners. So you can load them if they can't back squat, for example, because they're not used to getting that core control. They're tipping forward. Things are a little bit all over the shop. You can do that at the start. I'd always recommend doing technical competency work at the start. It's the most demanding. If you're tired, like Dan said, fatigue is going to kill movement anyway. So if you're tired, you're going to struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say is once you've done your technical competency stuff, you've put enough in that they're getting better and you're quite confident that you can progress it on next session. Why can't you throw a leg press in, maximize lower body work for someone that can't get it through other means?
Yeah.
That's where I think
exactly.
they're underutilized. So if you're a beginner, the majority of your training should focus on getting better at the push, the pull, the hinge, the squat, the bracing, the carrying, the anti-rotation, all that stuff. But it gets to a certain point where you're not good enough and you haven't earned the right to load that. So that's where you can step in. You've done that stuff. You've earned the right to then move on to a machine where you can maximize force output of a single joint or a multi-joint, depending on where you're at, and get a lot of work through that body part you're targeting.
Yeah, and then effectively that force will have some sort of carryover to your multi-joint exercise with free weights. So I think that they're underutilized from an S&C perspective as well. Like, I feel like S&C they're under that sort of like pressure to just get athletes just doing stuff in that quote unquote functional realm, where I don't see a lot of machines being used in S&C. Whereas like machines offer stability. The more stable you can make a movement, the more force production you can exhibit. That's why, like you said previously, that isometrics they produce the most amount of force because they're stable.
You don't move, you're in the optimal position to produce force, and you're stable.
Yeah, the more stability you
force.
can create in a movement equals the most force. So by saying that machine training is like it offers nothing in regards to performance is just not true. Everything offers something, unless if you can rationalize something, it'll work. So
yeah, there's no such thing as a bad exercise, just a badly programmed one. Like,
yeah,
I've always stuck by that.
Like, unless it's a burpee. I'm kidding. No, but like I just threw something across my room, like
Don't like
like just like yeah. But yeah, I think they misused in like from perhaps a rehab perspective as well. You know, they could be used in a rehab environment, or like
and
the thing is, like if you're training like bench or what have you, or like you're doing squats, as soon as you fatigue that muscle, those like non-superficial muscles is what we call them, is the muscles you don't see, like so your biceps and your pecs and your lats, the muscles in the kind of like
if you're Dan anyway.
Okay, here we go. There it is. Boom, boom. Look at that. Say something. Do something. No, but anyway, he touched the nerve there, and could you tell? No, but I've lost what I was saying now. But yeah, those muscles are kind of like responsible for joint stability. So like,
Rotate the cuffs,
you
things
rotate
like that.
the cuffs, that kind of thing. As soon as the main muscles are fatigued, those muscles then, if you're not providing stability, they are there to provide stability. So once your big muscles are fatigued, they take a little bit more stress. So that's where you're putting yourself at risk, where you could be chucking in a machine movement where you take a little bit, where it's a fixed movement pattern. Your stability muscles are not required to, they're not responsible for that movement pattern that you're creating. It takes a little bit less stress off, and you're still increasing the work of that muscle. So like, it doesn't hurt to add a little bit of volume in with machines after you've done your multi-joint like free weight movements. That's where I think they have their place. I think that we can draw the conclusion there, really.
Yeah, I think like you said, from S&C in uni, when we done our coaching assignments, whatever, it was all about building an athlete. And a lot of the time, you go into an athletic setup, they only have a handful of machines. You go in, they might have a row machine, a leg press, or that's like some other machines that
Are you
are
talking
going to
about rowing machines
maximize.
as in like a concept rower or like a pull?
No, like an actual like pulley machine. So they might have a multi-gym, something like that. But in uni, you're always programmed to build an athlete, and that's open kinetic chain exercises where closed kinetic chain, where you're there and you've got like split squats. You gotta think of all that. But at the same time, you've got the general pop then will use a lot of machines and neglect this side. And I feel like Dan's alluded to it. If you can merge the both, which they're very well doable, I've been guilty of neglecting one over the other because one's more my like forte, for example. I would say I'm a strength and conditioning coach as opposed to like a machine expert, you know what I mean? So I've always a machinist. So I've always neglected the machines, and I've kind of biased towards this end of the spectrum. But I think if you can shift it over and find a good balance for your individual, that's where the key is going to be. And I think I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning about the perfect blend. But from now on, I think machines are going to be included a bit more because since you're stuck at home, we haven't got access to them. You start to realize that they do have their place as well. So I think that's a nice finishing statement.
That's a nice finishing. We got some listener questions. And
quick fire Q&A.
We've got something coming out now where if you look on our Instagram, which is instagram.com/archive.podcast, the only archive podcast. The best archive podcast.
We'll touch on that one.
Yeah. Is it like it's the Jack Russell in the chat? Jack Russell has entered the chat. But yeah. But listener questions. Joel has got all the listener questions. I've got one listener question.
So we're doing a little thing called the breakdown? The breakdown. Yeah, we just decided on the name. And that's basically any questions you get from this show. We will do maybe like Instagram Live, something like that, to try and answer those questions in a bit of detail, because we do get a lot of questions that come from these, and include them in another podcast is going to be like covering the same ground every week. So what we're going to try and do is have like a little break-off show.
Just another
like archive podcast, but is to break down any questions you've had about the information we've relayed in
just like a little spin-off
the previous podcast. Yeah. So the questions we've had so far is, can you out-train a bad diet?
It depends how bad your diet is, and depends how you train, really.
Yeah, probably not is going to be my answer. So you see it watching the Fittest on Earth documentary where Rich Froning used to smash pizzas during the CrossFit Games. Should everyone do that? No. He's a genetic exception and an outlier. You should never really copy the best in the field. You know what I mean? Because they're probably where they are because of their genetics, and they would probably fall into another sport at some point if they were in a CrossFit there. Matt Fraser, for example, could probably adopt to a lot of sports.
Matt Fraser? Who the fuck is
Brendan
that?
Fraser.
Brendan.
So can you out-train a bad diet? Ideally not, but does that mean your diet should be 100% all of the time? Probably not. If you're trying to be so full on with it, you're going to struggle at certain points to maintain that, and motivation will probably drop as well as everything. So should you have a perfect diet? No. Should you try and eat a relatively balanced proportion of protein, fat, carbs? Yes. Should it be split with better food choices? Now, we're not going to go at the healthy versus unhealthy debate, but we all know you look at something, you think, I should probably eat more of that, or I shouldn't probably eat as much as that. With your training, if your food quality is down, you're going to get decreased motivation to train. A lot of the time you feel lethargic, you feel a bit sluggish. Your training might suffer because you're like having gut issues. You can't perform as well. So it'll probably detract from your training.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I'm actually going with this thing. You can't out-train a bad diet. Yeah, that's my standpoint.
The thing is, like, food quality is a massive consideration because your ability to digest that food dictates how you use that food. So if you're not digesting a food effectively, it's like there's no bad foods, but there's certainly bad foods for an individual. So like if you're just like smashing loads of fatty, typically there's a reason why those foods are labeled bad, is because they're not optimal for human consumption, let's just say. Like, whereas if it's like you've got like people with celiac, if they eat gluten, would you say that's a bad food choice for them? Yeah. They don't digest it. They're not gonna utilize those macronutrients. They're not gonna. Those nutrients are not gonna partition to a point where they're gonna utilize that food, where they're gonna recover or fuel for their session. Do you get me? So yeah, you can't outtrain a bad diet, but how bad? Like, where you say bad diet, it's like, I assume that you mean like just eating
Completely.
more. But like,
The way I'm saying bad diet is there's extremes in it. So a bad diet to someone could be a good diet to someone else. I'm taking the extreme of you're waking up, you're eating some white chocolate cocoa pops with milk with extra sugar on top, and then you are then rolling into like a 25% with extra cheese on top, barbecue sauce, all that stuff. Then you're rolling into a triple cooked chips with pizza. Like, that's a bad diet, and you ain't gonna want to perform. Are gonna see benefit from that.
yeah.
So that's the way I'm taking that question. Can't outtrain a bad diet. Be smart with both of them.
Yeah, I think we can both agree. Any other questions?
Calorie intake on training versus non-training days.
Right,
Go
people
on.
overcomplicate this issue. It depends. It
People
depends.
overcomplicate this issue, but I can't give an answer.
But the thing is, it depends where your goal is. Like, if your goal is to lose weight or to get lean, potentially circle a lot of your calories around a training day where you can increase your performance. So center a lot of your carb consumption around training days, and then take those calories that you're having from carbs from a non-training day, put them in a training day. So your calories will increase on a training day and decrease on a non-training day. If you're in a gaining phase, there's no real need to change calories. I would just say balance, eating a flattened surplus across the week. So like eat a fixed figure of food across the week. If you're pretty savvy with tracking, then maybe look at like other avenues. But I would say the best measure is to just keep things consistent, because consistency trumps like everything else, in my opinion. And if you're putting things in place that are going to stop you being consistent, then it's just going to get in the way. So you're looking for optimal, when optimal is just pretty much what you can do on a regular basis, and
Yeah, and same with me, really. If you're a person that's looking for performance, you might benefit from having higher carbs on that day where you eat around your train. So higher carbs before you train, higher carbs after you train, you might feel a bit better. If you're a person that isn't really struggling with performance and you're fine, keep it as it is, make those changes when they come. They can be used as a little bit of a boost to your deficit. So if you're eating 2,000 calories across 7 days and you're training fine, but then as you go deeper into that deficit, you start to struggle, then you can utilize that as a next tool that might motivate you to train a bit more. With things, I would normally like to say, keep it consistent, but if you are struggling, increase your carbs on training days, decrease them on non-training days, add a little bit more fat on non-training days.
I had a question, no, last podcast, but the first podcast I forgot to answer was what to eat pre and post workout, or the best pre and post workout meals. So I would say anything pre-workout, you want a hit of protein, not too excessive, maybe like, that nice round 20 grams of protein. High carb, you want a big hit of carbs, and a little bit of and a touch of fat to sustain that sort of like energy, fuel for your session. You don't want to just have carbs pre-workout or just protein, because if you're just having carbs pre-workout, you are going to peak in regards to sort of like, your sort of like fuel, let's call it in layman's terms, and then you are going to plateau across the session. You're going to tire out, and you're just going to deplete your glycogen. your carb source is going to run out. So you want that fat added in there to sustain, and then you want that protein in there for protein synthesis benefits. And then post-workout, you want carbs, mainly carbs and protein, I would say, just to replenish that glycogen as quick as possible. That glycogen replenishment is going to improve nutrient delivery, nutrient partition into the muscle. Then when you've coupled that then with your whey protein or your chicken or eggs or whatever.
Solid point.
And food source is just something you can digest well. You don't want a lot of food in your stomach, but you want something that digests relatively quickly before you train and after you train. And you want to be in you want to be in an ideal state to eat that post-workout meal as well. So you don't want to be eating it immediately after you train.
On food choices, healthy snacks. I had someone ask me this. My first thing would be look at the satiety,
whatever.
Yeah,
it's something that fills you up.
Have a look at the satiety of your meals throughout the day. If you are someone that tends to snack a lot, you might be in food sources that are not filling you up throughout the day.
Or you just might not be eating enough in general.
Yeah. So if some people like to snack, they've got a lot more free time now. They're watching Netflix, they're sat in front, you know what I mean, is like typical. First thing I would look at is try and evenly space your protein throughout the day so you're filled up for longer. That's why we say eat a high protein diet, is it fills you up and you don't feel the need to snack as much.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are still struggling, you've spaced it out throughout the day, there's some things that you've done that haven't worked, you still want to snack. Things that I like, watermelon. It is really good. It is low calorie and quite, I can't even say the word, satiating.
Satiating.
God. Yeah, it's quite satiating. Then carb sources, look at your carb sources. Potato, for the amount of like calories you get per food, you're going to be amount of
calories per food per serving.
So the amount of calories you're going to get per kilo is going to be a lot lower than rice. So if you eat a kilo of rice, a kilo of potatoes, you're going to get more calories in the rice.
Imagine eating a kilo of potatoes.
Yeah. So
those are Joe portions.
Yeah. So then other healthy snacks, they do a lot of low calorie ice creams at the minute, don't they?
Halo Top. It's expensive though.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's spenny. I know Morrison's do their own version, or Sainsbury's do their own version. It was just like £2.50 a tub. Still though, $2.50, bro.
Yeah. Greek yogurt, I like to go to as well.
Greek yogurt is the best snack. I'm sorry, but you can eat a kilo of Greek yogurt. That's 100 grams of protein. Probably not optimal to eat that much yogurt in one go. Like 500 grams of Greek yogurt, right? I could put away 500 grams of Greek yogurt. Yeah, put a scoop away in there. You've got like a chocolate pudding or like a banana pudding, and there's literally like such low 30 grams of protein, and the calories are literally fuck all.
Those actually struggling with the taste of it, add a little bit of artificial sweetener. It takes that like sour taste off.
Like,
so we'll go with watermelon, Greek yogurt, some like low cal ice creams in there if you've got a bit more calories to play with.
There's like low calorie like brownies and stuff, but like they're really low calorie because they literally like that.
Yeah.
So normal brownie is just that big.
One thing I would say is on protein sources, bacon medallions. I found those, like, a lot of people still don't know about them. I don't know, like, it's just the big part.
It's just the lean part of the bacon that you have.
They normally cut it a bit thicker if you just buy the bacon medallions on their own, so you get a good protein content without the fat, and that could be something that could lower your overall calories down, so you can eat a little bit more, so you don't feel the need to snack.
Turkey bacon.
So, yeah, all the same. So, snack advice: make sure you're satiated throughout the day, even in your protein sources. If you are still feeling the need to snack, low-cal ice creams, Greek yogurt's probably going to be the best. Watermelon and, well, a lot of fruit is quite low-calorie. And then maybe look at swapping for some leaner protein sources like bacon medallions.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got, I think this is, let's not recognize my face. One last Right, we got two last touching points. So we alluded to it on the last episode. So we had shift workers, how to deal with your calorie consumptions on like night shifts to day shifts. A lot of this is going to tie in with the one before. So look at the satiety.
I don't know how much the food fills you up.
Yeah, look at the satiety of each meal to try and balance your protein sources so you don't feel as like the need to snack as much, because I know that's the problem. Because you're working longer hours, things are there, you tend to snack. So try and look at the satiety of each meal. Then I would say maybe this is where you allow for a greater calorie consumption on days where you're working really long shifts. You're going to need a bit more energy. You're going to burn a bit more energy if you're working longer anyway. So you might need that more fuel on that day. And you can take away a little bit from another day and see what goes on. But what I would say is try and, if you know you're going to generally overeat on a certain day, up the calories on that day, take them back from another day that you know you can get away with eating a little bit less. That's shift workers. The final point, and Dan's been waiting all podcast for this. The question was,
somebody is in
opinion on the other podcast.
There's another archive podcast, right? And we apparently have been called out for copying these guys. But the thing is, people don't know this, but me and Joel have had the podcast. We've alluded to the podcast recently, but we've had this podcast in the works. It's been a while.
Yeah, we've had the Joel archives, we've had
the Dan archives. Like, me and Joel have got this thing, right? Me and Joel have got this thing, right? We work together with colleagues. We choose it. We do exercises. We kind of like try it and test each other's we see each other doing things that we've not seen before. We'd be like, oh, that's from the Dan archives. That's from the Joel archives. Yeah. But we have kind of like had this, like, the archive for a while. And
yeah,
these guys...
We'll set the stage. We'll set the stage.
Right.
This was the first episode of the archive podcast, which is unreleased and never going live, was filmed in Ibiza last year. September.
Last September, we've had this podcast going. This was filmed on a holiday.
So, yeah, we're going to leave that one off air.
Yeah, that's never
It was a trial run.
Yeah.
But, so... in relation to the other ones that think
like these guys have called us out, right? And I'm not, I'd be pissed if somebody took my name as well, but we didn't take your name. The reality is we know you're watching this video, bro. We know you're watching this. You commented on our first podcast.
Make sure you subscribe.
Like, you're clicking on our videos. That's fine. That's okay. The reality is, we're on Spotify. We're registered on Spotify as the Archive Podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts as the Archive Podcast. We're on YouTube as the Archive Podcast. It's staying as the Archive Podcast. That's the reality. Our podcast is we're UK based podcast. They're a US based podcast. Their audience is completely. I'll be honest, I think their audience is a completely different audience. But yeah, we didn't what about our podcast? Because I know somebody sent me the video, and in the last 5 minutes of their most recent podcast, they call us out, and they're like, "There's another podcast, and they stole our format." Like, bro, we never heard of this archive podcast before we made you. Like, we didn't go and look at that podcast. It's got 40 subscribers. They've got 2 episodes out. Let's copy everything they do. Like,
we stole their business model.
We stole it, bro. Sorry, not sorry. We're not changing.
We're not going to give them any more publicity.
Yeah,
because
fuck that. Do something. Do something about it. You'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing.
You'll do none.
You'll do nothing. No, what do you'll do nothing. Right.
The final segment.
Boom.
Energy drink review. So I've opted with the coconut and berry Red Bull. And what have you opted for?
I got this Rain because I had it in the fridge. Right, it's Rain. Yeah, this one. I'm not a fan, bro. I gotta be honest.
Right, we'll keep it. We'll go 30-second review because we tend to waffle on. 30-second review. 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
What, are we going at the same time? Right, basically,
You
this massive taste of aspartame. No lingering BCA aftertaste, but I will say the flavour, that razzleberry, is the most overpowering shit. It tastes like what they wash the floors with, what I imagine they wash the floor with in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Like, that's what I imagine that tastes like. This is what this tastes like. It's not very nice. It's overly sweet and it's too overpowering. That's my opinion.
And done. Out of 10.
I give it like a 4, bro. If it's really cold and I'm really thirsty, like, yeah, 4.
Right. Oh,
even as a snap, I've drank mine.
So, mine is going to be the coconut Red Bull. So, right. Get me on the timer then, Dan.
Right, 30 seconds. Let's just... It'll be about 30 seconds, right? Go.
Right, so, big fan of smaller can, especially before training. Don't like consuming a lot of liquid, and that's when I consume energy drinks. If I don't take a pre-workout, I will drink an energy drink, so that's why I like the smaller can. The taste is very refreshing, really nice. Can imagine going it very well with vodka. No real lingering aftertaste, anything like that. I would probably give it... It's got a little bit of calories in it, so it's not completely calorie-free, but I would go with a solid 8 out of 10. Would bump up to a 9 if it didn't have 26 grams of sugar in it.
Oh, is it one of those 0-calorie ones?
No, and this is the first time I found out, and I'm gutted.
I want my fucking 26 grams of carbs back, Red Bull. How many calories is this got in? 3 calories. 16 I want my 16 calories back, Ring.
Yeah, this one's got 150, so can't complain.
Mr. Bjornsson, give me my fucking 16 calories back, bro.
Right.
That's
been the Archive Podcast,
episode 3. Make sure you click our podcast if you want to listen to our podcast and not the other podcast.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, like a closer message to the other Archive podcast because we know they're watching. Look, we're sorry we share the same name as you. I promise we didn't look at your podcast and go, they've got a really good format. Let's copy it. That's it. Yeah, we're not changing the name. Do what you want with that information. No. Get over it. We can be friends if if you come to the UK, bro. Hit us up. We'll get you the free session of Planet Fitness.
It'll be the Archive Squared.
The Archive. Yeah, Yeah, we'll end on that note. Anyway, tune in next Monday for the next episode.
That's about it.
No, we're going to do the breakdown this week. So whatever.
Oh, yes.
Any listener questions you've got relating to this episode, if you've watched this episode, you've got any questions or you feel like we've missed a few points, hit us up on Instagram. You can
ping them over to our socials, mine or Dan's or the Archive Podcast. And yeah, we will be going live
as if Spotify. I was going to put them in there.
Yeah, I'm expecting that, bro.
I'll give it a go. But yeah, or if you just want to join us on the live, we'll put a post on Instagram saying when we go in live, what day, what time. Just join us on the live. Come and hang out with us on the live. Come and chat some hoop with us on the live. Yeah, it'll be good fun. But yeah, if you don't know where to find us, we are Instagram.com/Dan Evans PT, Instagram.com/Joel Harris PT, and Instagram.com/archive.podcast. Spotify, the Archive Podcast, and Apple Podcasts, we are yet to have our episode uploaded.
Yeah, we're on there. I think we're the Archive Podcast.
We just got some issues with how live the episode's going. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening if you've listened this long, and see you next week.
See ya!